have a hybrid meeting this evening. Present on the select board, we have David Phil, Randy Iser, myself, Molly Keegan, Jane Nevin Smith, and Amy Parsons. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by the governor on February 15th, 2022, I announce that this meeting of the select board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the select board's office via Zoom, and ask if there is anyone present who is also recording the meeting. All right. It doesn't appear that anyone else is, so please let the minutes reflect that no one else has indicated they are recording this meeting this evening. Okay, so we have 3 appointments this evening. The first order of business is we have 3 employees who are planning on retiring. And, well, I shouldn't say planning on, I believe they actually are retiring. So with us this evening, we have Janice Kangas, Dan Zadonic, and Joan Susko. Is Joan here?
She's on her way.
She's on her
She
way.
promised that she was.
Okay, all right. Mike, I don't know, did you want to say anything, or we can move
Do
to,
we want to wait till John's here?
we
Yeah,
can,
let's do that. Let's wait till Joan's here.
yeah.
Right.
We'll hold a little bit.
Sure.
All right. My guess is Joan is finishing up payroll. Yeah, that's what Lauren's saying. Okay, so are you guys okay just sitting tight for a little bit? Okay, all right. And I see Amy's here for the park and rec update, so
Do that.
why don't we start there? Okay, do you want to go with your park and rec update? Okay.
Here she is, John.
Oh, hang on. Never mind.
Better start all over again.
Okay. All right, as we were saying, we have 3 long-term employees retiring, and we invited them to come in front of the select board this evening. Because we do have some proclamations to be read. So first up, we have Dan Zadonic. Do you want to come up? You just want to stay there?
Put it in the hot seat. So the world can see. him.
Okay. All right. So the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Dan Zadonic worked for 35 years in the Hadley Town Hall, whereas Dan Zadonic held the position of principal assessor for the Board of Assessors, whereas Dan Zadonic has served on numerous town boards and committees, whereas Dan Zadonic has been a valued and dedicated employee of the town who will be missed. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Hadley, Massachusetts, on behalf of the inhabitants, extend our sincerest thanks and appreciation to Dan Zadonic for a career dedicated to the town of Hadley. So congratulations, and that is given this 8th day of January in the year 2025.
Gonna deliver.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Okay, next up, we have Janice Kangas. So whereas Janice Kangas has been a long-term resident of Hadley, and whereas Janice Kangas has worked for 37 years in the Hadley Town Hall, whereas Janice Kangas held the 2 long-term positions of Assistant Town Clerk and Assessor's Clerk, whereas Janice Kangas has served in numerous other positions within the town, whereas Janice Kangas has been a valued and dedicated employee of the town who will be missed. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Hadley, Massachusetts, on behalf of the inhabitants, extend our sincerest thanks and appreciation to Janice Kangas for a career dedicated to the town of Hadley. Congratulations, given this 8th day of January. Thank you.
They don't even want you to finish. They don't even want you to finish.
I know. Okay, and last but not least, whereas Joan Zisco has been a long-term resident of Hadley, and whereas Joan Zisco worked for 28 years in the Hadley Town Hall, Whereas Jones Isco held the positions of benefits and payroll manager, assistant treasurer, and assistant accountant. Whereas Jones Isco has been a valued and dedicated employee of the town who will be missed. Now therefore, we, the select board of the town of Hadley, Massachusetts, on behalf of the inhabitants, extend our sincerest thanks and appreciation to Jones Isco for a career dedicated to the town of Hadley. Congratulations, given this 8th day of January, 2025.
Not even gonna
Oh,
bother
yeah.
that.
Thank you all very much. It has been my pleasure. to
Thank
serve
you.
them.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Joan.
Yeah, and I just, for all three, I want to key in on the word dedicated. Yeah, again, for people who go about our busy lives, whether we're business owners in town, residents, oftentimes the sign of a decently run government is when you don't notice it that much. But certainly for those of us who are involved on a regular basis, whether volunteering or coworkers, colleagues, these three individuals have committed an unbelievable amount of not just time, but the dedicated, a good portion of their lives to making sure that everybody's been taken care of. And I would say that, at least from where I'm standing, they've been unbelievably successful at that. And when it says in the proclamation that they'll be missed, that is an understatement. There definitely a void will be felt in town hall. So again, thank you all for everything that you've done. For being good utility infielders, Janice in particular, right? We need you over here, we need you over there, Dan always being a steady Eddie when it came to the revenue, and Joan just taking care of everybody. So thank you. So Amy. So Amy Jennings is our Park and Rec Director. She's here this evening with Walter Jennings to provide.
Jim Shea.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, Jim. But Jim Shea from the Park and Rec Commission to provide an update on the goings on of the department.
Absolutely. I actually brought Jim just in case the crowd got rowdy, so he's my bouncer.
Okay.
When I need him. So here is an update for Park and Rec for what we've been doing for the last, pretty much from fall until now. I did a record season for our little soccer season, which was the ages of about 3 to 5, so preschool and kindergarten. We had 56 talented youngsters this year, so it was quite lovely every Saturday morning to have them filling the fields, and hopefully they'll want to continue to play soccer all the way through Hopkins, so we have teams forever. We had a new fall Halloween event, which was I think a great triumph, thanks to the community came together, and it was kind of like a driven partnership with the Hadley PTO, Hadley Police Department, Fire Department, Friends of Hadley Preschool, and the Hadley American Legion, and finally my department. We all came together and worked out of the elementary school, did something different, and it was great. We got great feedback, tons of people, happy children, beautiful day. I think that was something that we'll want to continue maybe for years to come. Then we skipped to, well, in between, lots of happenings, but then our latest big event was Santa came to town, bringing much joy, doing 13 stops around town, thanks to the Hadley Fire Department, bringing Santa around. We averaged, we think, about 175 plus kids were seen this year throughout the stops, as well as through the elementary school where Santa ends up. And he enjoyed some pizza and pictures with all the kids, and we had a great party for all of the community. Now we are looking forward to the upcoming basketball season, which is about to tip off for the games. We're into full swing of practices. Many families registered and hoping to break new records again for enrollments. The littles are just So adorable. And so I have preschool through kindergarten and then first and second grade, and then grades 3 through 6, they go to CYO. So I have preschool through second grade. And then I still have going on, which is year round until we can't use the elementary school anymore. So that will be through the end of June. We have our super popular pickleball league, which is happening on Monday nights, and adult basketball league, which is on Wednesday nights. They are sold out every week. I have wait lists going on. I use a new app. People have to sign up because it's gotten so popular that people can't just show up and play anymore, because it's just like this phenomenon that is happening. So that's been really successful using that and streamlining it through that. And then lastly, what I'm working on right now, which is big, is my second annual Hadley Hot Dog 5K, which everyone can start practicing for. And the race is scheduled. I bumped it up one weekend since last year because there were a lot of 5Ks booked last year on that day, which I didn't know. So I moved it this year. It will be happening on Sunday, May 4th at 10 a.m. Same route, same location, same everything. So if you're not a runner, you can come walk, you can come support, cheer on, all the above.
Did you request better weather this year? A little warmer?
Yeah, it's going to be warmer. It's not going to be 40 and freezing, I hope. And that's what I have going on. Always something.
And I had one thing
Oh, yes.
that I didn't want to lay on her. So I've had a couple of residents in town come up to me and ask if there was any chance that we could get the skating rink up and running. I didn't know what to tell them, and I hate to put it on you folks, but ultimately that's who has the call. I know we're in a water restriction. I believe the chief told me last time it was about 30,000 gallons of water. So I know that's a big ask, and if you want to talk about it for a little while and get back to me, that's great. I don't want to put you on the spot, but there's a couple that really are avid skaters and they really want it. And last year when it wasn't warm enough, I said, I'm sorry, I just don't see a stretch of weather where it's going to be warm enough to make sense to essentially waste that kind of water. But this year we've got these long cold stretches already, so I think we could actually get some use out of it. But
Have you had any conversation with Scott McCarthy at all, Jim?
I have not.
Okay. Is that something we could talk to Scott about?
Yeah.
So I just asked him, he said the water restriction still is in effect.
It is, okay.
It is.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have gone away with all our rain lately, but
You
I
know,
guess not.
Yeah, I
I think
wonder
it's because they don't
signs were
update it
down.
right away.
There used to be signs up, they're gone.
Yeah,
The
probably blown
signs-
away with the hurricane.
Yeah.
That we've had.
The state updates, I think monthly, so we're always a month behind.
okay. All right.
And I know that it's not just you guys can say yes or no. I know that there's gotta be some, conversations had in state rules, so. Obviously, the sooner the better, but whenever you can get back to Amy and she'll let me know, and
Sure.
if the answer is yes, we'll get it going.
Yeah, other than the water, how do people
Yeah,
feel about it?
That was what I was gonna say. If all you need is the water, I'd be willing to make a motion that we approve it based on the water restriction allowance.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion or? Okay, we have a motion made and seconded on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
so just.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, just one question, just a curiosity, with the programming, again, it seems like you guys are doing a bang up job with the programming and the attendance and when we talk to the schools, again, we understand, the enrollments are off, but Park and Rec is for everyone who's a resident, regardless of whether they go to Hadley schools, right? So you pick up, at the youth level, you're still picking up kids who might be choicing out somewhere else or homeschooled and.
All the above. I have Leverett families that come down religiously, mostly for all of the sports that we offer. And I have at least 3 Amherst families
Mhm.
that just like the way our Park and Rec is run better. So I always welcome people, and I have This year, I'm not sure, but I did have one homeschool family last year for basketball.
Mhm.
But I don't know if he joined, and he actually might have aged up out of my, yeah, I was gonna say he's probably in CYO by now. So, but yes, it's always, families reach out, it's always come on down and welcome to have them.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
As far as fees go, I know that's been in the works for years now, where initially our fees weren't covering our expenses. And so I know they've gone up a little bit over the years. Are we at the point now where the fees for the most part are covering our expenses or more than covering them, or is there room? What's the feedback you're getting from residents on the fees, I guess?
The feedback, I think, is kind of in the middle.
Okay.
I raised them a little bit and got a little pushback. And I kind of go with surrounding towns, and we're still a little bit higher than surrounding towns, but they also have different, or I should say more opportunities to have space available, where I only have really the elementary school, especially for the winter, because Hopkins is just off the table, because I mean, they are using the basketball court from 2:15 until 9 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
So, I mean, so is the elementary school. Between all our programs and CYO, I mean, the school's literally closed at 9 o'clock and the courts are being used. So, I think that's something we had discussed, of how much you can jump without pushing people away.
Yeah.
With the youth programs, you know, people's expenses are tight, but they still want the kids involved, you know, and I've always, if someone has reached out to me and, you know, they needed a payment plan or something like that, I've always said, of course, you know, we want you to be involved, if, you know, things like that. So I don't know how much more, that's probably something.
We've had conversations with previous directors all the way up through Amy. That if a kid wants to play a sport and their family doesn't have the money, they're gonna play the sport.
Mhm.
We're gonna figure out a way to make it work for them and, you know. So I mean, there's legitimately some families that can't afford it, and we're never gonna turn a kid away from an activity or a sport. I mean, unless it's like the skiing program at Berkshire
Sure.
East.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
something different, where,
Right.
but basketball, soccer, anything that we do like that, we're never gonna turn a child away. Doesn't matter whether they can pay or not.
Yep.
So,
Good attitude.
And I think if, you know, the equipment lasts a long time, but if there's stuff that, you know, needs to be replaced, that's where the supply cost is basically the hardest hit. So that's, if the supply cost, I don't need as much, then we're evening out or making, I would say.
And
So,
you don't have a friends group the way that the library and senior center do,
Not anymore.
correct?
not anymore, no.
Right, I thought there was one at one point
there
in time.
was, but they kind of disbanded and. A couple of years ago, we used the rest of the money that was in there to get rid of it to. Rent a cabin, or they call it a cabin, a shed at Berkshire East for the families to have a place to congregate, leave their stuff. And a representative from Park and Rec would sit there and watch all the stuff. Parents would hang out there. Some parents would go skiing with the kids. I think you went skiing with David.
Yep.
But some of the other parents just hang out in the shed. They give you a little space heater. So we use the rest of the money for that program for that whole year. I think that was it, because Steve Higgins was one of the last members of that,
Okay,
and they kind of cleared out the account, and there was a couple of things that Park and Rec needed at one point, and they just wrote a check and said, here, pay for it.
Mhm.
So that
okay.
kind of got closed out.
Hopefully a lot of people are listening tonight.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and one of the reasons that our fees are a little higher than some other towns have much higher operating budgets than we do.
Right.
So we have to charge more in order to put on the same type of program. Because, you know, you have to pay for people to run the scoreboard, you have to pay for, you know, T-shirts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does get expensive. Referees, I don't, you know, it's amazing how much CYO is every year.
Yeah.
Because of the refs, the scorekeepers, the everything, and it costs a lot to run these sports. Nobody gives you shirts, nobody, gives you anything anymore.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive, so that's why our prices are maybe a couple dollars higher.
Well, I mean, by all accounts, it seems like you guys are doing a great job.
She's
Thank you.
fantastic, Jeff.
Any other questions for Amy or Jim? No? All right. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
And thank you for all you do.
Of course.
And Jim, the next time I see Walter, I'll make sure I call him Jim. So. All right, and then our last appointment, we have a cemetery committee update, and we have Alan Weinberg here tonight. Hi, Alan.
Evening. Thanks for making time for us. So I'm Alan Weinberg, I'm chair of the cemetery committee. I've got a few slides to show. Jennifer, are you gonna be able to do that?
You bet.
Just to step back a bit, the cemetery committee is not the agency that runs the cemeteries. Just to be clear on that, DPW and the cemetery division manages, oversees, and runs the cemeteries. We're there to help where we can. We mostly are working with Community Preservation Act funds to work on gravestones and some other issues. Yeah, which I'll get into a little bit. But the cemeteries that the town has, these are the town cemeteries, 5 of them, dating back to the 17th century. The Old Hadley, which is the oldest, then Hockenham, which is the second oldest, and then North Hadley, Plainville, and Russellville. Those 5 cemeteries are run by the town and the town DPW. The next one. In addition to, this is a picture of North Hadley. In addition to being sacred spaces, obviously, they're also beautiful, serene, open spaces for the town. And that picture doesn't really do justice, but it's really a pretty view up in North Hadley. Next one. Jennifer. Yep, thanks. So for the last few years, projects, about 2018, what we've been working on, this is what we've been working on and mostly got completed. We've focused on restoring and fixing up the gravestones in all the cemeteries, especially the older ones, which hundreds of years old, and many of them were broken or fallen or leaning and dangerously, and just in need of some tender loving care and attention. So we embarked on basically a 5-year plan to get the cemeteries back in shape, the gravestones, using Community Preservation Act funds, which were generously given to us in all 5 cemeteries. And in total, we've done 500 stones, gravestones and markers, and the obelisks, the large pointy ones, which are difficult to do. 500 in all the cemeteries, and that was with approximately $100,000 of CPA money over the last several years. There are still a few, from time to time, there are more that need attention, but we got most of them done, and I think the cemetery is looking fine shape. We did a condition assessment of all the cemeteries before we did the gravestone work. We had a report done which showed us, identified which stones needed work. We focused on the worst. We haven't done all of them, but the ones that were the worst. And the other thing that we did or worked on was the Hockenham stone fence. You want to show the next one? Yeah. Oh, this is the Plainville Cemetery that shows you the cemeteries that the gravestones that were taken off the ground, but they had fallen down, put up and cleaned. This is what they look like. That's fairly typical of the gravestones, the 500 gravestones that we did fix. Next one, Jennifer. So in Hockenham, there was an old stone fence which was falling down and not very serviceable. And we have replaced it with granite posts and chains. And this is a picture of the fence up there. I think it looks pretty good now. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go by it. And it is on one of the main entrances to the town from the south. So it's one of the first things that people see.
Mhm.
It's a big improvement visually and functionally. That cost $100,000 in CPA money as well. It needed some attention from the town. It ran into some problems with the contractor, and thanks to DPW and Mike, they brought it over the finish line. It was mostly done, but not really up to snuff. So now I think it looks great. And I want to thank the DPW and the town administrator for making it happen. There's a couple of things that we're still working on up there, which we I think Mike, you saw some emails on that.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll continue to work on that and see if we can get something done. But the main part of this is done. And it was being talked about since Fred Oakland's day, 20 or 30 years ago. They were trying to do something with that stone fence, so and just never could get it done. But with CPA help and the town's help, we did get it done. So I'm glad to see that happen. The other thing that we do, the cemetery committee does, is answers calls for information about ancestors and people in the cemetery, mostly families who have descended from the original settling families in Hadley. They're always coming back to town saying, where's John Webster buried? Where's John Russell buried? Because I'm descended from him. So we help find the graves for them if they still exist, the stones, and give them whatever information we can find on the history. I mean, Hadley's an old town. It's almost over 370 years old now, and there's a lot of people who can trace their roots back to Hadley, and they are interested in the history. And the cemeteries contain an awful lot of historical information. The other thing that we do every year is put flags out for the veterans. There's over 350 in the cemeteries, in the town cemeteries. So we get the flags, we put them out with the help of either the Key Club or the Scouts or whoever we can round up every year, and that's a nice little project. The thing that we'd like to really do is and work on this year is if we can, is to put together a database of the veterans, all the veterans from Hadley. And if they're buried here, where are they buried? And so we can have a database of that, because a lot of them are identified only by the flag that's by the stone, because the stone inscriptions have faded. So we know if we go back into the records who that is, but it's not the best way to identify somebody. So we need a database, which we hopefully can work on. Can you roll it again? This is one of the things we did last year. We had a program in the old Hadley on the Revolutionary War veterans, and we had a speaker talk about the stones and the inscriptions on the stones, and we talked a little bit about the actual veterans who were there's 80 Revolutionary War veterans buried in Hadley cemeteries.
Yeah.
And we're going to do another one because this is 250th coming up. The 250th anniversary of the American Revolution is coming up in next year.
Hmm.
It's going to be a big deal in the state, because Massachusetts was actually started all the trouble.
And we've continued
And
it.
Hadley had a big part in fighting. So we'll do another program on the Revolutionary War veterans and Hadley in the Revolution. And there'll be other programs. The Huntington, the Port of Phelps Huntington will have several programs, and so it'll be something to look forward to. Anyway, this is our speaker at the program that we had last May. And the other thing is, we did do this committee did a walkthrough of the cemeteries in the last summer, just noting what things needed attention. We made we filled out a report for DPW that they have taken under advisement, just a number of things that they hopefully will be able to take care of as we move forward. Overall, DPW is doing a great job. We really appreciate the work that they've done. Scott and Gary Bergs particularly, just keeping them maintained and looking really good. So we appreciate that. But there are, the main issue is the fence on the Old Hadley. This is not the fence on the cemetery road. This is the fence on the north side along the farmlands. And it was replaced or put in, I think about 20 years ago now, with a post and rail, wooden post and rail fence, which looked good then, but obviously they don't last forever, and this one's falling apart. So we have to figure out, working with DPW, what to do. To replace or remove or do something with that. We might be coming back with a CPA project either in the spring or the fall to do that, but that will be in consultation with DPW and how and what they want to do. And I think, yeah, that's another picture of the fence in the northwest corner of Old Hadley, and it's just all overgrown with invasive vegetation, and it's pretty well falling apart. So it does need some attention. And that's it.
Ellen, how many open lots are there in the?
Well, only two cemeteries are selling lots.
Mhm.
Old Hadley and Russellville. The others are
Russellville.
closed.
Okay,
Doesn't mean we don't have burials there. Obviously, because people own
who are
lots.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's burials going on, although a lot of them are cremations now.
Mhm.
And with cremations, you can put more people in a given space. It's not that we can sell more lots, but we can accommodate more burials
Mhm.
in all the cemeteries. But the only new lots, lots that are being sold are in Old Hadley and Russellville. And I can't give you a count of how many there are. The mapping isn't the greatest. Gary Berg would be the one who would know. There are, more than a few
Mhm.
that are available.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you have a question? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all the work you do, Ellen. Okay, next item, we have the consent agenda for this evening. First, we have a host community agreement that's been amended for Hadley. We have an employee benefits agreement for Chief Mike Spank Nabel. We have a request for a charity wine pouring for the Hadley Girl Scouts to be held on January 31st at the Old Hadley Post 271 American Legion. And we have a common vic license for Jersey Mike's, and I believe the Girl Scouts are actually represented here this evening. So we can pull that one out, just so you can talk. Yeah, and so let us vote on these others and then, yeah.
Motion to approve the consent agenda minus the Girl Scouts.
Second.
Okay, motion made by David, seconded by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, come on. Yeah. Yeah, you can just introduce yourself and then tell us about the. Yeah.
Yep, I'm Rosalie Conklin, Hadley resident and Girl Scout leader for 13 years. So we're looking to do a charity wine tasting to be held at the American Legion on Friday, January 31st from 6 to 8. We're partnering with Four Seasons. Sean Berry will be bringing in vendors. They'll, be serving tasting tastings of wine. And we'll be charging, for the tickets for people to attend. And yeah, we're hoping to raise some money just to be able to keep that in our Girl Scout. It's for the, what we call a service unit, which is our town Girl Scouts. So that we can then award, money to start up, troops that are starting up, like with our youngest troops. And, maybe scouts that are doing their, bronze or silver or gold awards, which are the, highest level of awards that girls can do or members can do. So then we are able to, financially support them in those endeavors too. And a lot of those projects come right back to the town where they're working on, just education or improvements in the town somehow. So, starting up different clubs or organizations, lots of different community things. So yeah, and it was funny sitting here listening to Amy talk about Park and Rec, and our girls do a lot of volunteering for those events. Listening to, I didn't catch his name, Weinberg, talking about the cemeteries. And, we march in the parade every year for Memorial Day, and the girls go out and put flowers on the graves, and we actually can find them because we know which ones, with the, the ones with the flag. So we go, the kids put flowers out there. So it was nice to hear kind of that come all full circle. So, yeah, so we're just hoping to be able to do this.
And how many girls are in the program right now, Rosalie?
Oh, gosh. It used to be that we had a troop for every grade, which was amazing. It's dropped off a little bit. It seems like we're starting to come back. I don't know the numbers overall for our service unit.
But there's still like the daisies all the way through.
Yep. So we have a first grade troop that just started. I'm not sure about a kindergarten troop yet. And then we have my troop, which is 12th grade graduating. So at our peak, we had 21. We're down, unfortunately, to 4, but we're, we've been hanging on. So that's a win. So
Especially at that age bracket. I mean, there's so many other.
it's challenging. Yeah. But we have 11th grade still, 9th grade. There's kind of a little bit of a gap in there. And then, we have a lot of younger troops that are coming up. So, yeah. So, any other questions?
No, so encourage everybody. You're available on January 31st.
Thank you.
And what are the times again at the Legion?
6 to 8.
6 to 8 o'clock
So,
at the American Legion to support our Hadley Girl Scout troops.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Jane, seconded by David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay,
right.
so now we can officially start selling.
Now
So,
you can.
so look for posters. Thank you very much.
All right, take
Thank
care. Okay, item 4.1. So we have time for public comment this evening. If anybody is here for public comment. Anthony, come on up.
Hi, my topic tonight, my brief comments are about accountability, and I just wanted to, a couple of questions that have come to my mind in the last few weeks, as I watched just before Christmas, as the select board finished up the process of granting $100,000 to the new owners of the O'Connell Lodge. It's through the Housing Trust, Planning Board, and then eventually the select board. That raised some questions in my mind about accountability. And I wondered if that's something that exists in the town of Hadley anymore. I recalled, I was thinking of when the whole process went through with the zoning board, and there was quite a process, meetings, people spoke. One of the main concerns that was brought up a few times by several people was about the risk that some of the tenants might pose to the community. And we were given commitments by the O'Connell Lodge owners and through them, and you vouch for that there wouldn't be violent offenders. Things would be vetted. That didn't happen though, did it? Because I checked today and there are at least 2 level 3 sex offenders at the O'Connell Lodge. That was something we were told wouldn't happen. Yeah, Mike can tell you the same thing. Level 3 sex offenders are the worst kind. High degree of risk for reoffending. They pose a high degree of danger to the community. Those aren't my words. Those are the state definition of what these level 3 sex offenders are. Please don't tell me that that's not the O'Connell Lodge. That's Craig's Doors. They're responsible for that building. They made that commitment and they just blew it off with your support a few months later. That really bothers me. They put our community in danger, and you put our community in danger. Sorry to say that, but that's the truth. Randy, Molly, Jane, You were the ones who pushed this through, put our community in danger. I don't understand that. And then you granted them $100,000. That's your choice, but I do not understand it. And we have no explanation. You didn't even think to ask those questions when that process was going through. That bothers me. Second point was, again, accountability. During the whole process, we were told, Randy, I seem to remember you making a big deal about this. Actually, several people, including Bill Dwyer, I believe, told us that that building could never, ever be used as a hotel again. There was an agreement, there was a deed restriction that could never be done again. A few months later, what happens? Craig's Doors opens. Now, under the state law, and I looked it up myself, under state law, there's no difference. Transient housing is transient housing. Transient housing is a hotel, a bed and breakfast, and a homeless shelter. You told us that would never happen again. That was one of the reasons we were giving to kind of get support for this. A few months later, it happened. It's right now it's happening. Transient housing, it's being used as a hotel because there's no difference. Well, please feel free to look it up yourself under the state law. Again, with your support, you told us that. And then it just goes away. Third thing is my final point is something that that you told us again, that a lot of questions were raised about what would the risk, what would the cost be of services to the community? Would it be a greater, would it be something that's manageable? We were told it would be manageable. Well, I've been checking it out and it's a lot. It's I looked at the records, it averages about 13 calls a month to the O'Connell Lodge directly. That's not traffic stops. That's to the O'Connell Lodge. That's about, the final numbers aren't in, but if you average that out for the last year, it'd be 150 calls for the last year. Most of those are ambulance calls. Every time an ambulance rolls, as you know, fire truck rolls. A lot of times the police department rolls. What's that costing us? And that's something we could talk about, but nobody asked a question. Instead of saying, maybe we should send them a bill because they're running a homeless shelter there, we gave them $100,000 without even asking the questions. So I don't know if there's any accountability. And I guess my final question is that I don't know who's representing us at this point. I take no joy in saying this, but I don't think you're representing us because those questions would have been asked. All of those questions would have been asked during that whole process, and they weren't, were they? Is it in bad taste to raise those? It's not, I don't even know, but there's an agenda here. You push through your agenda without even asking those questions. I'm baffled and I'm disappointed, and that's all I've got to say.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Anybody else here for public comment? Nope. Okay. All right, so next on the agenda, old business 5.1. So tonight we're being asked to appoint a solar committee to work on the recently approved solar project from the special town meeting. Committee will evaluate, assess, and make recommendations to the select board regarding the optimum size of the project based on site suitability and Conservation Commission review, financial viability, look into ownership versus lease options, attempt to identify all federal and state incentives. I don't want to put that onus on them. And identify and secure grant sources available to be used for the hiring of professional services that might be needed. The recommendation right now is that the committee be made up of the following: Matt Waldrop from the Planning Board, Kayla Lubrio, our Conservation Commission agent, Michael Doctor from the Climate Change Committee, Shardul Palmer from the Finance Committee, Jane from our board. Chris Hamill is a resident and solar advisor, and I think we had another individual who's interested as well.
That's good, because this is an even number.
Pardon?
Chris Hamill is just supposed to be an advisor, not a voting member.
Oh, good. Right. Thank you. I was going to say, I know he was separated for a reason. And I believe, let's see, John LaPere, who's another Hadley resident who has, he sent an indication of interest. Yeah, that just came in today, I believe, correct?
I'm looking now.
Non-voting member?
No, 143. Okay. And his background, just very quickly, he's indicating he doesn't have direct work experience with PV or municipal power, but he does have a background in electrical and machinery controls through Barnes Aerospace and computer networking and retail. And thought that he might be, he's interested and thought he would have some skill sets that he could bring to the table for the committee.
And I don't have a problem if there's an even number on a committee like this, because their job is going to be to provide us with information. So whether it's an even or odd amount, I don't see a problem.
Okay, so we're adding his name to this list to approve.
As a voting or non-voting member?
I would imagine he would be a voting.
It's just a resident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a town resident,
So Chris Hamill would be a non-voting.
correct.
Since he's playing the role of advisor at the same time.
Was that his request to be a non-voting member?
As I understood it was.
Was it, yeah? Do you remember, Michael?
That would be a bigger difference, and he would be a voting member if he wanted to, but if
Okay.
there's too many members. He would go to
Actually, it would,
It'd be better if he
It'd be
was,
better if
because
he
then he
was
would have
voting.
7 voting members.
yeah, then we'd have our, again, the preference being even in case of a tiebreaker needed.
Make a motion to approve the 6 listed plus, what's his name?
John LaPere.
John LaPere as voting members to the solar committee.
Second.
Okay, motion made by David, seconded by Amy. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all right. Good luck.
That's another solar question at this point.
No, but if you could come to the microphone so everybody can hear your question. As long as it's, is it
I just
related
wanted
to?
to find out, no, it doesn't have to do with the task force. It has to do with the contract that you guys approved. And I'm just curious what the status of it was, because I don't think we've responded. I think it was at legal.
Oh, yeah, you could have emailed me. I would have been happy to talk to you about it. It's on the procurement thing. It's actually with them waiting for their signatures.
With the vendor?
Yes. Great. Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. All right, next on the agenda, we have a few licenses. This is still cleanup from 2025.
Yes, and I have an update on them too.
Okay, you want to?
Yes. So I'm asking tonight for y'all to approve the 3 licenses listed here. And then I would like to tell you that Guiyang did not renew their liquor license through oversight on their part. He came, I'd reached out to him. He did not respond. He came in earlier this week, not realizing that he has to now reapply for his liquor license. So I'm asking you to approve his common vicular license now. He understands that he may not sell alcohol in his business until he has reapplied. He's has the application, he's paid the ABCC. He's waiting on the abutter notifications, which I believe he received this evening from Dan. So he'll be able to put the abutter notices out and he'll come before y'all on February 5th to renew his license. So he does intend to take that license back. And then he and I had a class 2 auto dealer license that did not renew. He did contact me indicating that he would, but he did not turn in the paperwork. So Save a Buck is who has not renewed their license for the town this year. And other than the businesses that we lost, unfortunately, that I'll be giving you an update on the select board departmental update in February. It's been a very successful license renewal season.
Okay, good.
So.
So the 3 in front of us this evening are Kittleton Inc., Automatic Amusement, Gregory's Pastry for a common vic, and Guiyang for a common vic.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion made by Randy, seconded by Amy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, for new business, select board will discuss the town record retention policy.
Jennifer wants your attention.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. Can I please ask you to put a term on the solar steering committee?
Oh,
You could do it till the completion
I
of the
was gonna say
project, if that's,
through duration of the project.
Yeah.
could y'all make a motion towards
I'll
that?
make a motion that we limit the solar committee to be for the duration of the town solar project.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, no, it's okay. Okay, the select board will discuss the town record retention policy. This me,
This year,
this me.
you know, this will be potential. Policy.
So I wanted this agenda item on, this is something that's come up in the past and kind of keep forgetting about it, and then it comes up again and then kind of forget about it. But one of the, areas of concern is that we have, because we, as a town, operate with so many volunteer committees, we don't really have a policy per se about where information should be stored. So, in most cases, it's nothing more than maybe agendas and minutes, and that's fine. I mean, those are created and they're turned in or posted on town website. But there may be other material that committees are working with, and there's no real policy about where that might be stored. And I know we've had committees in the past that have come in front of us and indicated that, people are storing documents on their home computers or laptops or whatever. So some of the conversation I had with the acting town administrator, that maybe this was something that we needed to take a look at and just make sure that, as people either aren't reelected to an elected committee, or they're, stop volunteering for whatever reason, hate to potentially lose data, that could be relevant. So
where would we suggest they keep it?
Well, part of the problem is that there's not even a single way that a lot of the data that we have is kept. Some of it is computerized, some of it's on flash drives, and some of it is hard copy. Secretary of the Commonwealth and the Attorney General's office has rules and regulations as it relates to how long certain documents are required to be kept. So it's not just about disposing of the documents in the appropriate time frame. It's also about keeping them in a safe and an appropriate place. Some of the problem, I think, has occurred over the course of only the last few years, when select board was displaced from town hall and moved here, and the meeting room turned into kind of a storage facility. And so we don't necessarily have a location identified yet. I mean, in my mind, I think what I would like to see is as much of it digitized as possible, so that we can keep it on a server and obviously save room and things like that. A lot of the stuff, Jennifer can attest to this, a lot of the stuff that from, I believe it's planning and conservation, has been being scanned and digitized, which helps a lot. But there's still a ton of stuff there that's just, don't even know where it is.
So like when I was on finance and I would submit an agenda to Jessica to be posted, I would email it to her. And then obviously the email is a record of that, which is kept forever. But where do the agendas go after she posts it on the website? Are they there forever? Or can I go back and click through the calendar and look at back 10 years and find it?
Not 10 years,
Well,
However long.
2016.
So it would seem to me that the easiest way would be to require all the boards and committees, the chair, whoever's in charge of them, to, in order to continue serving on those committees, that every 6 months or every however often we want to set it, that they submit electronic scanned records to somebody in town hall, and it's put on the website, on the server, or whatever. And to not get in trouble with the Attorney General's office. If they're not complying with that, then they're no longer on the committees or eligible to serve on the committees, because this day and age, there's no reason for paper records at all.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, well, I think when you start getting into like planning board and they have lots of material.
yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah.
And they're working on it. but-
Right. And so that's a work in progress. And like I said, Kayla's doing a lot with the cons. I mean, those are the things
All of
I'm
their
really
stuff
concerned
now,
about.
almost everything is digitalized. Every plan that she receives, she immediately processes and turns into it. So it's really their old records that they have to keep. But we have Terry Frost, who's been doing the planning board, DPW, planning board, who am I forgetting?
Conservation.
Building. And Kayla's been doing conservation.
And building stuff too.
Yeah.
Building.
So we've been doing a really big press,
Mhm.
but I think that a lot of the ones, the old ones in particular, like I know the CPA documents, I think
Yeah.
there was jokes in the days, well, I thought they were jokes about Edwin Matusko storing stuff in his barn,
Mhm.
but that was real.
Yeah.
But I think that people,
It was real.
I was surprised. I was new to Hadley and I was surprised that that was how it was being stored. But those are the documents that we need to get pulled in, the historical, literally the historical records of the town that are out there.
And I think from my standpoint, I was just thinking, we don't know what we don't know. So, maybe the good starting point is just really to send a blast out to the committees to ask, do you have any town records that you're storing
Or at least make the policy going forward that everything has to be electronic
Yeah.
and turned in every so often. So that way we're not digging ourselves a deeper hole when
Yep.
it comes to this stuff.
right, stop the bleeding?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do we have a place for it that makes sense right now? If we had file cabinets, we all understand how that works.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I mean, any business today has a server. I'm sure the town has several. And just to find the appropriate place to put the stuff so that we can find it in the future. I think that would be extremely helpful before we even get into getting the information. We gotta know where to put it.
Yeah, we need a plan.
Yes.
Perhaps that's something that we could work with Lauren, our project manager, and myself. And Terry Frost coming up with a plan and maybe come back to y'all
Yeah.
with something.
That sounds good.
Wonderful.
We were hoping very soon to turn room 203, which is the former meeting room, back into mostly a meeting room. We're gonna do some office rearranging to make it a little more efficient so that it's a more pleasant meeting space
Mhm.
for the town as it should be.
So are we supposed to meet with each of our appointed committees once a year? Then we could put this on our agenda every time we meet with one of them, so we're sure that they have heard. That the first question is, thank you for coming, where are you storing your stuff?
They might not come after we do
That's right.
that.
Well,
No
Al-
PowerPoint for you until you tell us where's your stuff.
I do know that Alan Weinberg has been storing stuff in his home
Mhm.
and,
Sure.
and I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
and I actually think it might be Fred Oakley's that got passed on to
Yeah.
North Barstow to him and on and on and on. So
I just think whatever policy we come up with, it needs to put that burden, I guess you could say, on the committee members
Mhm.
themselves, because the town hall employees we have are obviously overwhelmed with what we have for the past. So I don't want someone showing up to Jennifer's desk.
Right,
with a
here,
stack
you
of
asked for
papers.
it.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah.
But if it's sent to you digitally, does that take a lot of your time?
so all of our boards and committees have received training, or at least a member of their board have received training on how to load their minutes and agendas to their websites. So all of our boards and committees know how to use their websites, and they should hopefully be loading their minutes and agendas up onto the website.
And they could load other materials too that are backup to them.
They could.
Once we
And-
figure out where that is.
Well, I mean, so the thing is we don't give access to everybody for the server. We don't provide all our boards and committees with computers or email addresses. So we do have to have a way. And, but that's something that I think we could ruminate on and maybe come back to y'all with a
Tee
plan.
it up tonight and
Yeah, no,
make
most
sure the
definitely.
board's aware and, get everybody's input and, yeah. Okay. So no action needed right now. Okay, 6.2 severe weather policy. Mike, is this you?
Can't believe you haven't canceled anything yet, Mike.
We had a 2 hour delay.
Yeah.
They tried to get me to cancel the day, but I said, no, it's gonna be just a 2 hour delay. So this, I would describe this as more of a housekeeping item. This is something that the town has been lacking, just the actual policy in writing, something to follow for future town administrators, future individual, whoever's in charge of the town, whether it be, you know, the select board or TA. I have conferred with Council on Aging, schools and things like that to make sure that all of the appropriate departments who don't necessarily fall directly under select board policies are kind of attached to this and are still, you know, still fall under it. But essentially, this is, you know, this is actually something that has been being used already. This is what I kind of followed, the protocol that I have followed since I took over, and we did have to have a 2 hour delay once, as I mentioned. So it's really just a way to kind of get it on paper and get it within the select board policies, procedures, and protocols for future reference for anybody else who's in charge. So you can either take a look. I mean, it's up to you. I don't know if you normally vote on these immediately or if you want to put it back on for next agenda to give you a chance to read it, but it's.
Yeah, I think usually we have a chance to just think about it.
Okay.
And anybody wants to ask any questions or whatever.
I do.
And we already have our first question.
All right, fire away.
So I have a concern about Council on Aging and the library. I guess operating differently than, say, Town Hall, the rest of the town.
Mhm.
I know that in one of our recent ice storms, the DPW was short-staffed and barely
Yep.
able to keep up with the roads. And there was some back and forth about keeping the library open for some event, and at the end of the day, the event was canceled, the library was closed because we just simply didn't have the staff to do it,
Right.
but I think not saying that's not important, but the focus should be on the roads and public safety versus, I would say, recreational programs
Right.
like the library.
Well, and that's why they're separate, because we know that our parking lot is not primary concern of the town right now in snow.
But my concern, the way I read this is we could be in the middle of the blizzard, in the middle of the worst blizzard ever. And because some programming's happening that someone feels is important, and it may be, maybe stressing town resources that can be better used on the roads and elsewhere.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I see what you're
the
saying.
policy is written, yeah. The policy is written so that each one of those department heads can veer from, say, my decision and cancel their programming. You know, to be safe because of the unique populations that those buildings serve, but
They can't
on
go
the
the other.
town side, it can't go the other way. Okay,
And this is
Okay.
for evenings. Right? It just says, it talks about evenings, weekends and holidays. So I guess that they're gonna get canceled like everybody else during the day. And then if in the evening, it's
Yeah,
potentially different.
that
Is
was-
that what it?
that was probably, that was what I was meaning, but it's really not called out well. David's right. It should be called out a little bit more clearly that
Because it's
the
daily.
town
as well.
administrator can shut those buildings down based upon the needs of the town. So I can make that adjustment and put it.
Yeah, because if Jane, like you said, if you're, you know what, and the town hall may be open, but we don't want our seniors going in an icy parking lot. that
I mean, that's how it has been, and that's
Yeah.
how I think it is correct. I think what you said, it's not quite correctly worded.
Yeah.
But it's what's happening already.
Okay, all
Just
right,
to
that was my
clarify.
concern. I
I
just
can-
don't want
I
someone to
can
try to stay open.
I can
No.
strengthen the
No.
town
Yeah.
side of things and then get it back to you
Yeah.
for next meeting.
And just throwing another scenario. And you never know when the weather's coming in and when it's gonna be done. So in a scenario where we get call it severe storm overnight. But it stops snowing at 10 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, maybe the buildings have been canceled because you need time to clear the roads. But by 7 o'clock, I mean, everything's pristine.
Right.
If somebody had an event planned at the library or the senior center in the evening, would it allow for the possibility of the building to be opened post event?
Not if it was a posted meeting. I think if it was a posted meeting and the building, the town was closed, I don't think you could have like an elected board hold a meeting.
Okay, but what if they had, you know, one of their
Fundraiser.
fundraisers going on or something?
I think if the building was closed during the day, people would assume it was closed for the night.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, if you didn't want it to be
I
because,
think it would be hard to overcome that. To run something.
okay,
You just have to postpone it.
so I know that's come up in the past.
Right.
Like, you're kidding me, like, we can't have our,
Right, it's sunny out now.
yes. So, okay, if we don't want to allow for that, I just want to make sure. If we did, then that language should be in here.
Right, so it holds for 24 hours, whatever.
So you want it called out specifically that if it's closed,
For the day,
For the
which
day.
includes the evening.
includes the, got it.
I just think with our staffing issues at the DPW, any help we can give them to get them on the roads versus having to worry about other things is a help.
Okay,
A
so we'll, oh, go ahead.
Request for this department is the earlier that call can be made, the better, because the employees all come from at least 45 minutes away, and
Mhm.
many of them have been on the road when they got the message.
Do you make the decision at the 4 AM or whatever the school time decision is?
Scott
made, or-
usually calls, the one time we've had to do it, Scott called, I think at 5:30.
Okay.
Said it was the best part of his day, waking me up.
Good sleeping time.
Okay, so we'll take it under advisement and then we'll bring
Yeah,
it back for
And I'll make
approval.
those adjustments and I'll have it ready for you for the next meeting.
Thank you. And then last new business item, Complete Streets Program. Scott is not
Scott's
here,
not here,
so-
but I can take care of this. I wrote the letter of intent anyways. So Scott approached me a little while ago about the Complete Streets program. I'm not sure if anyone knows anything about this, but this has been a standing grant that the state has been offering for quite a while now. And Scott Scott had been trying to get on board with this back when Carolyn was here. This is essentially what this is that is we work with a grant manager essentially, or a program coordinator. The payments for the program coordinator are covered by a grant from the state without question. And we would work with them to do any projects that we identify. These aren't things that the state would be forcing us to do. But they would have to fall within the scope of work that fits for the Complete Streets program. So making connections between the bike path, Hadley bike path to, you know, the library or the school, things like that. Crosswalks, adding hawk signals, things like that to make things safer. Scott already has multiple projects identified that he would like to accomplish here in town. And we can get grants for up to $500,000 every 5 years just by being a part of this program. This letter that I would be asking for you to vote on and for the chair to sign today is step one, to simply let them know that we would like to be a part of this. And then Scott and I would work with one of the engineering programs that are out there to make this happen. To begin the process of writing a policy, which you will then have to approve at some point down the road. And then we can actually start doing these projects. You can spend all the money on one major project. You can break it up and do a bunch of little things, but like I said, you can get up to $500,000 every 5 years to do something that the town needs.
So why do we put to accept this within 1 year of the date of this letter?
In order to, for this what this letter is basically telling them that we intend to join. Then the next step, you basically can't just send the letter in and then let it sit. You have to send the letter in and then you have to get your policy together and then you have to begin the application process for the actual jobs. So they don't want they don't want a bunch of people sending in intent letters or writing policies and then doing nothing.
So we
As
have
far
to
as
pass a
projects.
bylaw.
Not a bylaw, a policy,
Okay, it says passed as a bylaw.
I think,
Comma, ordinance or
Comma.
administrative policy.
right?
Okay, 4.
And I already have,
We change the
templates
order
for,
of those. Ordinance, administrative policy or bylaw, so that bylaw doesn't come first and people think that we're gonna pass a bylaw and everybody's gonna have. Input. The town meeting.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, this is just going to the program.
This is just
administrator.
yeah.
Yeah, but it just.
Sure.
That's the way I read it, and I thought we're taking this to town meeting.
No.
Yeah.
No, and like I said, I already have, policy templates I'm working on right now, making the adjustments to kind of fit what they've given us in the past and, we can begin to move forward with this. This is,
Yeah,
I mean, I had a couple of meetings with a couple of different companies who do this work for you. This is an absolute no-brainer from my standpoint.
motion to accept.
Can I just, before we do that, just in the signature block, it says Board of Selectmen. I think we do have the select board.
Yes,
Okay,
I just
Got it.
saw it, I'm sorry.
okay, go ahead, Jane.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made by Jane, seconded by David. All those in favor?
I,
Do they have to say in the motion that they are the chair, okay for the chair to sign for everyone, or does it matter? All right,
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the town administrator's report.
sure. Okay. Some of the things are the same, didn't change much over the holiday, but, so positions in the interview process, Lauren has been just burning the candle at both ends. She's doing interviews, she's posting new jobs. The DPW seems to always have a new job that they need posted. She's doing interviews for DPW positions, benefits coordinators, things like that. Those are the two major ones that are going on right now. Onboarding, same as the last time with your principal assessor. She is basically going to be completing her training with Dan today. This is his last week. He's taking next week off, I think.
I think
Something like
he's coming back in a little bit next week, but he's off for the rest of this week.
Right, so she's training, but she was also one of those folks who really didn't need a lot of run up to get going, so we're happy with that. Rita has moved on from the her last project, and she's now working on your policy index, which, if we continue to push through the policies that were kind of sitting in the hopper there, she'll really be able to put something together for you folks. Your classification and compensation and succession is finally off the shelf and being worked on again. I think department heads just got an email a few days ago from them with a survey.
Lauren's sending that out, I believe on Friday.
Okay,
She asked them
Right,
to edit.
she
a
was
few
gonna
things.
review it first.
Yeah.
So yes, we have the next step is a survey. Lauren's gonna review it and then it'll hit the department heads emails by the end of the week. Fiber is the same, ambulance is the same. Solar, Jennifer just mentioned that earlier. Thanks to Michael's question, we are waiting for the vendor to sign it. They do have it in their possession. Russell School has not changed. Let's see, Town Hall Consultant, we had the second meeting for this and presentation was done with the Historical Commission. It is an underway project. The levy rehab project, we have a meeting with Senator Comerford, Rep. Gomez, and several other legislators, we hope, on the 21st at the library, and it will also be on Zoom, and we'll be having a presentation from the individuals from Woodward and Kern to discuss the dike, and then we will I believe, unless it's too cold, we'll be doing an actual site visit out to the dike with those folks. Goodwin project will begin procurement in January. TA search, I believe several of you, at least the department heads, got emails from you didn't get one?
It just went to
Okay, must have hit
heads,
department heads first. Think they're gonna
Not yet,
speak with
no.
you.
I mean, probably will, right?
It's started. Let's just say
Yeah,
it
okay,
started
started.
and put an exclamation point at the end of that. It has begun. So, library roof, we talked about this the last time. I'm not sure much has changed, but I am actually gonna be meeting with Patrick and Lynn on Friday to kind of discuss the next steps with that whole situation. Strategic planning, that first bullet point, is being worked on. And the next two bullet points, budget meetings started this week. Linda and I are going to be meeting with department heads. They've almost all of them have submitted their budgets via email. We are reviewing them and we're going to be meeting with each department head to discuss it. I put a little bit of information in there for the board, just so everybody's aware that we're, taking everything into consideration, but we understand that there may be some things that are going to have to get pushed into future years. The FY24 audit, I just thought you should have a little bit of information on this because thankfully Linda and Jennifer have seen what the audit emails look like. I had not seen what they look like in the past, and I was a little surprised by the fact that no one calls you or reaches out to you in any way, shape, or form to say, hey, we're your audit company and this is how things work. They just send an email that says these things are due. They don't send it to anyone in particular. So that thankfully Linda and Jennifer helped out with that while I was out for a few days last week. That is underway, and Linda anticipates this to run smoothly. And the most fun one coming up is that we will be beginning negotiations with the 5 bargaining units outside of the schools in the upcoming week. We have 2 scheduled for next week, 1 scheduled for the week after that, and then I believe the police and the municipal need a little bit more time to meet with their unit and meet with their rep. We'll be scheduling them for their first meetings coming up as well. The hope is to get through as much of it as we possibly can, if not all of it, so that increases and alterations and changes can actually be written into each department's budget. That will be a first for me if we can get that done, because I've never been able to do it with dispatch or police. So really looking forward to making that happen so we don't have to do a whole second budget in the fall. But that's that, unless anybody has any questions.
Anything for Mike?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Any liaison reports this evening or announcements?
Nothing from me.
Nothing from me tonight.
All right.
Amy, do your thing.
I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session pursuant with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. In this case, it'll be for the compensation study, the municipal employee union, firefighter union, dispatch union, Department of Public Works Union, and Police Union, and the quarterly review and release of executive session minutes for October 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and we will not be reconvening an open session tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. But before I go into that, I forgot condolences, my apologies. So just put a pause button here. Behalf of the board, we want to express condolences for Sue and Kate Glowatsky on the loss of their husband and father, Mark Lowatsky, longtime volunteer for the town of Hadley. His services were just held this past weekend, and there's very well attended, an incredible outpouring of support for his family, and as well as recognition of all of the amazing selfless volunteer work that Mark has done, particularly for the senior center over the years. So again, just, a heartfelt hug to Sue and Kate at Mark's passing. Okay, sorry about that. So we do have a motion made and seconded to go into executive session. As chair of the Hadley Select Board, I state that the board has moved and seconded to enter into executive session. And I state that discussing the matter in open session will have a detrimental impact on the bargaining position of the town of Hadley. Jennifer, roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Phil,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank